Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Teaching Tips Tuesday with me, Alex Fabrega. I want to thank Jared Kittleston for running TTT these last couple of weeks. My caseload has gotten pretty big, but I am so happy to be back with all of you. Today, we have with us a very special guest. How you doing today, Kaya Armstrong?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. So, Kaya was the most recent participant of an FBC challenge event that we called Flight for Sight. And Kaya flew an airplane from Phoenix to DC as a person with a visual impairment. Now, Kaya, to your understanding, has something like this been done before?
Well, we looked into it, and from what we found, this is the first time this has ever been done.
Okay, so to give some context to the folks at home, can you kind of describe your level of vision?
It's really just extreme tunnel vision. I have no
Mhm.
peripheral, and I can only see a couple inches in front of my face.
Okay, and how's the acuity in that tunnel?
Terrible.
Okay. So even though there is, so a lot of people when they hear tunnel vision, they think that that tunnel is going to have really good acuity, like in the case of retinitis pigmentosa.
Mm.
But even your tunnel is pretty rough.
I get some colors and some fuzzy images. I have absolutely no detail of anything.
Okay. And then you, with that level of vision, flew a plane. So I personally am not very informed about how Flight for Sight went. So I have some legitimate personal questions that I'd like to ask you about it.
Sounds great.
Number one question, I have I had some interest in being a pilot in my life, and when I think of it as being an exclusively visual activity. I mean, you have your sensors that you're reading, you have your windows you're looking out if conditions permitting. So what sort of accommodations did you do for this to be a safe series of flights?
I mean, strictly speaking, I could never fly it on my own.
Mhm.
But um, leading up to it, all of the training I had to go through, most people when they're studying they are able to take home a poster of what the inside of the plane looks like and put it up on the wall or on a table and just read it over and over. And I had Fred from there at the Foundation for Blind Children. He came out and he helped me braille the entire poster. So I spent hours just memorizing what the inside of the plane would uh, look like.
Look like, yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, the book that every pilot has to read, I got like the PDF version, and so I had my screen readers, but FBC also embossed it all, so I have the entire
Nice.
braille copy, which is huge.
How many pilots manuals in Braille exist, you have to wonder.
Probably this
This
one.
You might have the single in human existence. That's pretty cool.
It is, but it's huge and heavy.
I bet, yeah. So, like, how did you access the sensors and instruments?
It was interesting. The inside, I can't really read the screen, and that's really what Tyler was doing for me. He would read the screen
Who
because
was
as
Tyler?
of right now, he's my co-pilot.
Okay.
He was with me for the entire trip. And so as of right now, they didn't have any sort of accessibility for the electronic screen inside itself. But as far as the levers and the buttons and the switches, they all really have a specific area, and a lot of them have different textures and just the way they feel and the way they're shaped. So being able to identify them for me was actually really easy because
Hmm.
they were already tactile as it was. And then from there, once we're up in the air learning how to turn the plane, that was those math lessons brought to life.
Yeah.
The ones you never think you're going to use, and here they come.
All of a sudden, it's time to calculate trajectory and angles and.
And so we spent a few just time training sessions going up and just learning how to time it correctly. And I had to learn the correct speed in which I had to count if I wanted to get us going in the right direction. And it was
Mhm.
just a lot of logistics working over the full 8 months and just so many people that I'm thankful for all the people I had. If we didn't have all of those people, it would have taken a lot longer than it actually did.
Mm. So when I think flying, when I think the part that is the most intense, maybe I think landing. That is where the rubber hits the road in a very literal way. So like how did you safely time out a landing?
And that's where Tyler also came in.
Okay.
He would help get me sort of on the runway, make sure I was going straight, and he would walk me through slowing down the plane. He'd let me know as soon as I was going slow enough for the landing,
Hmm.
and he would just sort of talk me through it until there towards the end he'd just sort of give me a few words, and he said take it, and it's like okay.
All right, here we go. So would he kind of like give you like, okay, you're at 1,000 feet, 800 feet, 500 feet as you
Mm-hmm.
got closer to the ground. Now,
That's
how
exactly what he would do.
nerve-wracking is it once you're below like 100 feet, like that ground's coming any old time now? How nerve-wracking is it waiting for that ground impact?
I mean, when you're landing you can't actually see anything but the sky out of the plane because of the way you have it angled.
I guess
So
that's true. You're banked up.
I
Yeah.
mean mentally you know it's coming, but I mean for me I could see like colors on the ground, but when we're landing you couldn't really see that, and so it was just, I mean thankfully we had the 8 months, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of trust in the relationship, um, flying that plane and landing it based on just verbal cues. And I mean, we made it to Washington.
You made it all the way to Washington. So how long total was that trip?
It was it was originally planned for 7 days, but due to weather, it ended up taking we pushed it and we landed a day early, so it took us 6 days to get to Washington.
Okay. What model plane were you flying?
A Cessna 172.
Now, for the folks at home that might not be so educated on plane varieties, like how big are we talking here?
It's about, I don't know, maybe 6 feet tall at the most, I believe. I mean, it's small enough you can drag it with one hand when it's on the ground.
You can drag the. Okay, I see. All right, that's pretty light. Yeah.
You attach this little metal pole and you can just sort of drag the plane with you. And it's first time I was there witnessing it happen. It was just that's keeping us up in the air.
Yeah, that's all the matter I have to keep me up there. That's
Yeah,
wild.
it really
So this
was.
plane, like, it just fits you and Tyler, and there was no more
Hmm.
room for, like, I imagine, like a bag or two, and that
We
was
each
about
had a
it.
bag, and he was able to store like a couple extra plane parts in case anything happened. But yeah,
Hmm.
that was it. We each had one just singular bag.
Well, Kaya, I remember a few summers ago in college prep when we first met, you had basically no experience with anything in the VI world, and how eager you were to learn cane technique, how excited you were to be working. I could not think of a better person from FBC to have had this opportunity. You definitely had my vote in the early days. It has been
Thank you.
such an honor and a pleasure to see as you've worked through college prep to the adult transition program to then flying an actual real airplane in the actual real sky is such an incredible transformation. And we just want to thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to show what you could do.
Well, I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. This is an experience that I'm gonna carry with me the rest of my life.
So I have a question I usually ask my guests who work in the VI field. I ask them what their favorite part of their job is, but this is not necessarily your job, but I'll still say, what is your favorite part of flying a plane?
Being up in the air, I mean, it really is a whole other world up there. It just it's peaceful once you level off and then you're just flying. You can just it's you and your thoughts and then your co-pilot, if you're talking. It's really calming. I love being up there.
That is probably not what my first thought would have been while operating a plane, but I guess
I
once it's
mean, don't get
comfortable,
me
yeah.
wrong, takeoff is like this huge adrenaline rush, like a roller
Oh,
coaster.
yeah.
But once you're up to altitude and you level off, it's really just amazing.
Alrighty, Kaya. Well, thank you so much again for coming on this episode of Teaching Tips Tuesday.
Thank you.
And thank you so much to everybody at home for giving us another watch. We hope to see you next week.